Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Triple R Show, Real World Recovery, where honesty meets healing every single day. We are back with Chad from his podcast, Not All There. And today we're going to get more into resilience and, most importantly, gratitude and some mirror work as to find out who you are so you can get through this holiday season with strength and confidence. Another key point is, especially early in recovery, is not to start looking forward to the point where you need to start changing it up.
Nope.
Because patience is going to be a key there. And you can't start looking ahead to what you're expecting. And that's another thing with expectations. Because, all right, well, you know what? I've been clean or sober for 2 months. So, what's everyone's problem? Look at everything I've done. But what we forget is everything that we've done for 20, 30, 40 years.
Right. A good friend of mine, he likes to say that he'd been off the sauce for like 3 days and he was peacocking around his house, and he was getting the cold shoulder from his spouse and the kids. And he walked up to his wife and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, man? I've been sober for 3 days." And she's like, "Yeah, you're still the same jerk as you always were." And I share that often because that is such a perfect example of what it's like for the other people in our life. We may be proud and feel good about where we are, but we need to recognize that, we were a tornado. We may have scorched some relationships. And that is where keeping your day-to-day narrow is, that you need to just kind of stay in a lane and work for those little small things, right? And that's, whether you're going to 12-step meetings or you have fellowship somewhere else, it's important to stay connected and to talk about those little things. Because, he had this expectation that his family was going to be like jumping over the moon and, balloons and cakes and celebration, that he was now, quote unquote sober. And that was not even remotely true.
He had expectations that everyone's going to be coming running around and, "Hey, Dad, look, and that's just not the case." And when we get back to expectations, when you have those unmet expectations, now all of a sudden you're starting to feel frustrated and angry, and then those 3 days are gone out the window. And with that, you talked about, being sober. I think that term is used very loosely. There's a difference between abstinence and sobriety. And with sobriety comes the awareness, the patience, the compassion, the forgiveness, the understanding of situations. If you're just abstinent, just like that, that situation you're talking about, yeah, and I know people that were like that, and for a period of time I was like that. With extended abstinence, where I was not. Look, in hindsight, I was not sober. I was abstinent.
No, exactly. As it's said, the drinking, the alcohol, or the alcoholism, the addiction itself is just a symptom of the greater problem. You remove the booze, the drugs, whatever it is that you have your addiction with, you're left with whatever you were trying to cover up to cope with. And that's when the sobriety needs to be focused on. That's when you need to get into that mode of recovery. I'm a little frustrated by the, like dry January #sober life kind of, what's the word I'm looking for right now? It's this social thing. It's been almost, phenomenon. And it frustrates me. I mean, you can #abstinence. Cool. But, if you're going to hijack, sobriety, you really should know what you're promoting, because just because somebody, you could take away, let's say sober. Okay. Dry January, nobody drinks. Okay. Well, the addict that doesn't drink, they're going to find another way to cope, right? Whether it's, sex, gambling, any other nefarious and bad behavior that is going to help them cope with whatever it is. And so maybe they stopped drinking, but they certainly aren't, sober. They're not working at what they're trying to to solve. They're trying to heal. And, it's just old man on a soapbox, but that's kind of how I feel, is that, I almost feel this obligation that since everybody out there, and especially during the holidays, it's very important, but also during dry January, these people are going to be out there promoting sobriety. And it's like, yeah, but do you even know what you're promoting? Like, let's educate people. It's not that hard.
And they also are probably not dealing with the mental aspect of addiction.
Absolutely.
So they're not using alcohol as a solution to their problem.
Right.
So for them to give it up for January, it's like, all right. I was going to say it's like me giving up M&Ms.
Dude, come on. Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel.
That would be like switching your slippers for the month of January for them. They don't care. They can care less.
Right. They couldn't care less.
It's not a big deal to them.
No,
but try walking through hell for a decade or two, and then give it up for a month. And then you kind of have something to stand on.
I couldn't agree more with you, man. It's important. Like, and, I look at it as what a perfect opportunity to bring out the mental health aspect of it. Like, you take away the drinking and then you're left with this part of yourself that you don't even fully understand. And, it can lead to some very, sad and tragic results if somebody doesn't get the help that they need with that. And so, it's a perfect way to couple the messaging, dry January and, mental health awareness, what have you. But I think that it's irresponsible to focus on only one aspect. And quite honestly, like, we may think that the drinking's the biggest problem, but it's not. It's not. And that's not what you're working to heal, or, if you want to say solve. It's not the drinking, it's not the drugs. It's the emotional, spiritual aspect of you being human. And by just putting it on a t-shirt and a hashtag and Instagram, you're missing the point. You're missing the point, and you could be doing, and I think almost in a way you might be doing harm to people by just saying, hey, well, just stop drinking, man. That's all you need to do is just stop drinking. Do it for a month. And like you said, that hell, that agony that you're going to find yourself in, I have far too many stories to tell about how some of those experiences ended for some dear friends of mine, and I'm sure you do as well. And I like to have fun, and I do my best to live an enjoyable life, but it isn't easy, and it is careless, I feel, for people to not want to be aware or educate themselves in any way as to what, sobriety, sober living and living in a life of recovery is really like.
Yeah. And as you know, the last time we met on Zoom, we talked about mirror work.
Yeah.
Right. So the part of the mental health aspect of it is that people in active addiction, they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And who their identity is.
Yes.
And
that
I'm
includes
a big
me.
proponent of mirror work, which I got from Louise Hay. And she, as you know, she's a huge proponent of that, is finding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not a lawyer or a policeman or a teacher or whatever you do for a living. Those are roles you play. Your identity is not a father or a husband. That's a role you play. Because then you lose those things, or those things change, and then you don't know who you are. So getting in front of the mirror and really finding out who you are and having those conversations and building your self-esteem is where you're not going to need that solution.
Yeah.
You're not going to need that substance, like, and you mentioned earlier, whether it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, eating.
Yeah. I mean, we could be here for a while discussing that aspect of addiction. But this time of the year, people are really going to lean on alcohol and drugs, and that mirror work is so important, Mike. Like, I can see myself right now, and it's basically a mirror. And for a long time, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I would have to for shaving, but I wasn't paying attention to who the person was. I was just trying to keep my beard lined up. But it is challenging to do, but if you just allow yourself to feel it, to feel that, okay, this is just who I am right now. It's not who you're going to be for the rest of your life. It's not who you were. It's who you are right now. And to allow yourself to feel that is, it's freeing. It is really freeing. And I think it is a great way to, learn who you are in early recovery. We got to learn to accept ourselves, and what better way to accept yourself is by staring at you in the mirror and just having a good connection with that person that's looking back, because that person that's looking back is worth it. That person that's looking back at you loves you, that whether you love yourself or not, they do. And just embrace that person, who they are, because that's you. And
I liken it to connecting to your younger self, or a version of yourself that you have not been connected to in a very long time.
If ever. I started drinking at 18. And so, I look at my eyes and I'm like, I still see that 18-year-old kid that picked up, his first drink. And that person that I would look at in the mirror for 21 years, I had no idea who that dude was. It was just some face that was looking at me, and I hated it. I hated that face. And, the being able to look at myself now, compared to what I used to do to myself, it's rather, I don't know, I get kind of excited by it. It's like, I do it every morning. It's like, okay, well, what are we going to get up to today? What are we going to do today, buddy?
Yeah, it's a pep talk and everything. And it's not a place to go and start beating yourself up, because we had done that way too long and standing saying, what in the world did you just do? No, that's a place to celebrate your victories. And if you made a mistake, doesn't mean you are a mistake. And just talk to yourself about that and say, all right, I'll do better next time. So it has to be a positive experience, because for so long we have trained our minds through our unconscious mind, just feeding it, negativity, that it all has to be positive. That has to be your happy space.
Yes. And hallucinogenics and a mirror don't really go well together. So just a pro tip for those that may have had that experience, like, it's not going to happen again when you look in the mirror. Okay. Your face is it's going to be you. It's not going to be something else. But just to make light of it, but yeah, in all seriousness, that connection with your outer and inner self is key to living a fulfilling life. And, the mirror is do it every day. I mean, you kind of lose track of time. Sometimes, at least I do. But I feel so connected, and I understand myself in that inner child aspect. It's always talked about in therapy, but it's true. There's this part of you inside that you need to recognize and heal, because ultimately that's truly who you are. And so do things that make you feel joy. Take care of yourself in healthy ways, but ways that are good. If you like going to the movies, treat yourself to going to the movies, man. There's nothing wrong with that. Go see. There's nothing like seeing a concert sober. It's so much better than when you were out there doing what you were doing. So be sure to treat yourself to these. It's really important.
Yeah, and people don't think that's one of the biggest hangups is, well, how am I going to go fishing, or how am I going to go golfing, or how am I going to go, to lunch with the ladies, without a drink or a cocktail? And because we're so accustomed to doing that, it just becomes a huge association with the event. Until you start doing this mirror work and everything, and again, it's not going to be easy. You're not just going to go up here and say, you're perfect, you're whole, and you're complete, and I love you, and then your life is going to change. It is going to be uncomfortable, and that's where you stay there. The ones that are uncomfortable are the ones that you have to continue to repeat.
Yes, absolutely. And to take it back to the gym analogy, like, when you're back at it, there are days when you go to the gym every day. There's days where I just, I don't have it. and I'm tired or whatever it is. Sometimes I don't know. I just wake up in a bad mood and I'm like, I guess, I'll do my best, but I may be stuck here today. But and that's okay. You move through it. And then the next day you look back and you're like, wow, look what I did. I earned today. And with that mirror work, it's the same thing. It's like picking up those weights for the first time or picking them up and you don't want to, but you need to because you need to be healthier. You need to be stronger. And when you'll start to recognize when you feel that uncomfortable feeling out in the world in your day to day that there's something that you need to be aware of and pay attention to. And, for people like me who go to 12-step meetings, that's when I know I need to go to a meeting. Right. And when I get through that, and that's the connection, the community aspect is, I get outside of myself. I hear what other people are going through. I hear, something that I can relate to, and that feeling goes away. And I also learned something about myself in the process, that whatever it was that was bothering me didn't matter, right? It just didn't matter. And so to tie that back into the mirror work is you start to feel those feelings, and if you are having an emotional moment after it, reach out. Call somebody, go to a meeting, go to church, find somebody somewhere, some kind of fellowship that will help you work through what you're feeling, even if that's just sitting and listening.
And with the successful mirror work and you start building your self-esteem, that's where the page turns. And you start seeing life in a completely different way, which will lead us into gratitude. And it's hard to explain, how, for me personally, how grateful I am for every minute of every single day, and nothing is taken advantage of, because I never know when I'm going to get the next minute. Whereas in the past, everything was put off to tomorrow, it's not that important. Every minute of every day is the most important minute of my life.
I was walking my dog this morning and I just stopped and was just staring up at the trees. Like, when's the last time you stopped and just looked at a tree and been like, geez, what is this thing? Looking at a tree and just trying to process, what the hell is a tree anyway? And that may sound like some kind of weird hippy dippy stuff. I mean, I'm from the West Coast, but it is a form of gratitude because you're in a moment, and you're embracing something outside of yourself and looking at it in a different way. And that is so important to carry that gratitude to the smallest things, like, oh, I got to walk my dog and it's raining. It's like, well, I have an umbrella, or I have a nice raincoat. Those are the things that are important when I talk to people about gratitude, is really be grateful for the small things that you have in your life. I mean, we all are grateful for the big things, that, health and friends and family, but there's so much more in your life, around you in your life, that you can notice, and being able to notice that and connect with it in any way it's an awesome form of gratitude.
And I know, looking at the trees, and I'm smiling because I do it all the time now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I don't think you're cuckoo at all. and I'll be walking down a trail and I'll watch, a couple of birds interacting with one another, a couple of squirrels playing tag.
Yeah.
And I'll just observe it, and I'll pause and enjoy the moment. And so it's not, and that's the thing that you and I are both trying to do here. And if we could bottle up that feeling and give it away, we would. But I mean, you have to want it, and you have to work for it. And you just use the example of, I have to go walk my dog. And I had this conversation with somebody recently, is I don't ever say now I have to do this or I have to do that.
I'm going to do it.
I get to do it.
Yeah, I get to do it.
I have the opportunity to do that. And that gives me such a great feeling. I don't care what it is, because I know there was a time where A, I wasn't doing it, or B, I couldn't do it.
Exactly. And, for those who commute through those who commute by public transportation, we all fall into these routines. It's just kind of this mindless walk, right? But, walk a different way to the stop or the station, sit in a different seat or sit in a different car on the train and just take in what's going on around you. That is a wonderful exercise in gratitude, because, you'll see some things that are recognizable in what you used to do, who you used to be. And you do feel compassion for that other person, but quickly you'll be grateful that I don't have to live that way any longer. I don't have to live that life any longer. And taking that attitude, that recognition out in the world, looking at connecting with nature, the trees, the squirrels, the birds, that's all awesome. But also, recognizing that in a fellow human, and having compassion for them, but also, be grateful that you're not having to do that. Be grateful that you get to walk. Be grateful that you're wearing shoes. Just be grateful that you get to be, man. Like, the world's always going to be filled with anxiety and fear and all of that crap, right? So, whatever. That's where people are at. That's not who I am. And I don't have to live that way. And I want to live this way. And that is a huge part, especially you who are listening, who are in early recovery. To make it work, you got to want it. You have to want it. Okay? Make sure you remember that, because Mike is full of great wisdom, but it's only talk if you don't want it.
Yeah, and to check yourself, because if you're sitting there complaining half the day that your car insurance rates went up, and someone say, "Oh, you have car insurance."
Yeah.
So you have a car.
So you have a car. Yeah.
Hey, where are you going with that car?
Yeah, exactly.
To work. Oh, so you have a job.
Exactly, man.
So those are all things. So gratitude is, it's an action. It's not just a word. Thanksgiving is coming up. So, everyone goes around the table saying, what you're grateful for. But, for me, and again, I'm sure for you, gratitude for me is on how I conduct myself as a human being. It's my behavior, is my kindness, how I interact with people, how I handle situations, how I put my recovery in perspective.
Oh, amen.
And treat it as so.
Yep. Recovery is number one in your life. And don't feel weird about living your life that way. Well, what about my wife or spouse? And what about my kids? And what about this person and that person and this relationship? Yeah. We get it. We get it. But those were...
Yeah, but they're gone without your recovery.
Exactly, man. They don't mean squat unless you take care of yourself first. Like, corny analogy, and I'll leave it with this, is that the plane's going down. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help the person next to you. That's exactly what your recovery is like. It's like, I got to have my oxygen, my recovery oxygen, before I go out and do anything to be of service or help anyone, even that is being a spouse or a parent or a friend. You have to put that on first.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, resilience is going to keep us grounded, as we spoke about. Gratitude is going to keep us moving forward. And if you put those two together, you're going to be able to go through this holiday season with strength and be proud and be happy and be sober, as we talked about.
Yep.
Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. We hope to have you back.
Oh, anytime, man. I love talking about this because it's important. And thank you for the work that you do in providing this platform. It's huge.
It's been great. And we'll be seeing you again, Chad. For sure. All right.
Okay, take care.
And again, everybody, thank you for joining our podcast, the RRR Show at Real World Recovery, where honesty meets healing every single day. We will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.